Good morning. The March 2nd board meeting is now in session. Please rise for the invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. The pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2.03, approval of the minutes. Mrs. Birch.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes on page 2 to change in the executive session of February 3rd on the employee appeal. Mr. Bennett advised the board on an employee appeal. It was Mrs. Ritchie that moved to uphold the superintendent, as I was not in the room.
Okay, second. All those in favor of amending the minutes? Okay. Okay, minutes are approved. Item 2.04, establish agenda order, and the agenda stands as published. Item 2.05, recognitions. Ms. Bozzella.
Good morning. I'm Flori Bozzella, Executive Director of Human Resources, and I have the distinct pleasure this morning of introducing the board's recognition. But before I begin, I would like to ask members of the board and Dr. Arlotto to please come forward. Members of the board and Dr. Arlotto, in thinking about this morning's recognition, a sentence from Dr. Arlotto's December budget address came to mind. We have awesome people who are doing incredible work for our children. That has been the hallmark of our school system, not just in recent years, but going back for decades. In the spring of 1940, retired teachers Mary Taylor Creighton and Elizabeth Milliken were having lunch in Annapolis when the subject of organizing a retired teachers club arose. Those conversations led to a meeting the next fall in which all 5 attendees became charter members, and Mrs. Milliken was elected president of what we now know as the Anne Arundel Retired School Personnel Association. Dues at that time were 75 cents. Today, nearly 2,000 people belong to this association, which continues to advocate on a wealth of retiree issues. And just as they did for decades in their many different roles in our classrooms and buildings, ARSPA members continue to give generously of their time and incredible talent to support our children. ARSPA's Community Involvement Committee collects canned goods for needy families, toiletries for needy adults, books for needy children, and school supplies for children attending our schools. ARSPA members also contribute to fund scholarships for high school students that would like to acquire a degree in education. In addition, ARSPA members are key to our work in the Division of Human Resources. They help us prepare benefit materials for new hires and retirees. They co-sponsor the spring and fall pre-retirement programs, including planning and developing the program, preparing and collecting and analyzing the evaluation forms, and many other tasks that make that event possible. And they co-sponsor our very lovely annual retirement recognition reception in June. In short, they are invaluable partners who work for our school system, for our employees, and for our children. Theirs is a testimony to longevity and dedication, and we are better for it. If this were a Hallmark commercial, I'd close with some corny reference to ARSPA's 75th or diamond anniversary. Well, it isn't a Hallmark commercial, but I'm going to do it anyway. ARSPA members have been and continue to be true gems of our school system. You know, of course, that diamonds are a girl's best friend, and these folks are true friends to all of us in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. As President Barry Fader and other ARSPA members come forward, please join me in thanking them for everything they and their colleagues do for Anne Arundel County Public Schools.
Give stuff to you.
I'm going to come back for that. I got to follow the routine.
Thank you, thank
I
you.
might get written up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all y'all do. He said, give him one. Give him
I
one.
changed my life.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Great to see you. My gosh,
Thank you for
so
keeping
much.
him going after retirement. Thank you very much.
Just like me.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much. Keep it on. Old teachers never do. Yeah. Yeah, that one day. Wow.
You guys go back up top for the.
Okay.
On the ends here. Make sure we can see everybody. Good. You guys have lined up like you've done this before. God, it's good. School pictures. Okay, here we go, guys. As long as I can see
If
everybody's
you really do
faces and
this
I
good, I'll
can.
refer you to
Yes, sir,
Life
Mr.
Size.
Fader, we'll go. Okay, everybody, look in this way. We're gonna take 3 photos, and then I've got another camera that we're gonna do a couple more for. So here we go. One more shot, I wanna do it. And, one sec. Here we go, do a couple more. And one more shot. Here we go, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is 2.06 Educator of the Month. Mrs. Burge.
Thank you very much. On March 1st, 2011, President Obama issued a proclamation that begins with these words: "Hidden in the pages of books are extraordinary worlds and characters that can spark creativity and imagination and unlock the potential that lies within each of our children. Reading is the foundation upon which all other learning is built, and on Read Across America Day, we reaffirm our commitment to supporting America's next generation of great readers." So with the month of March upon us, the Board of Education finds it only fitting that our Educator of the Month be awarded to someone who is responsible for cultivating literacy skills amongst her students and engaging children in good reading habits. Amy Cosentino, reading resource teacher at Overlook Elementary School, works on a daily basis to build reading strategies and increase reading levels amongst Overlook students. Amy takes initiative in all that she does. She spends time working to build her own knowledge to best support the ELA curriculum at Overlook. Just in her first semester, she implemented training and administration of the Fontes and Pinnell system of reading levels in every grade, 1 through 5. She also initiated a new writing curriculum at Overlook to beef up daily instruction. She provides whole school, grade group, and individual professional development sessions based on the needs of teachers and students. With teachers like Amy Cosentino, our school system goal of elevating all students and eliminating all gaps becomes reality. Her work in building reading strategies and increasing reading levels with struggling students is paying off, as shown by F&P reading levels. She works with teachers to empower highly effective instructional procedures and the latest in literacy thinking to elevate their expertise and help build a community of skillful and informed educators. Amy is very involved in initiatives outside her classroom in support of literacy. She recently took on the Read With Me initiative, creating multiple events and incentives to encourage students to read at home. She also paired with the Linthicum Community Library to encourage students to sign up for library cards and read, read, read. Amy Cosentino, your work to encourage literacy at your school and in your community is admirable. You are constantly seeking ways to network with others to benefit your students and your school. Your efforts with the volunteer program at Overlook and PBIS adds to your professionalism, which is apparent on a daily basis. So for these reasons and more, the Board of Education is honored to recognize you as Educator of the Month for March 2016. Congratulations, and would you please join me up front?
You're looking quite festive today.
And it's televised.
She made you wear costumes. I hope that the camera can see her too, because she looks quite festive as well. At least you didn't have the balloons on, as she does. But so what is it you thought you were coming to today?
I thought I was coming to talk about reading teachers' workload with testing. All right, so I'm assuming that it's pretty big. The workload's pretty big. Okay. All right, so we got that across. Reading teachers' workload is pretty high. But we do appreciate everything that you do, and we're very grateful to that. Now, did some other people come with you today? Who else is here?
My husband, who's a PE teacher at North County High School. My mother, one of our first grade teachers, my mentor from when I started in the county, Sue Murray from Porterfield Elementary, and my father.
So apparently a lot of people knew about this except for you, apparently. Yeah, well, congratulations to you. I have a certificate and a bell that has your name on it. So congratulations to you, and thank you for everything that you did for our I appreciate it. I love it. Congratulations.
Amy, if you can stick around for a little bit, we're going to take some pictures after the break, or during the break.
That's going to be a great picture.
Item 2.07 is Employee of the Month. Mrs. Hummer.
This is a very unusual circumstance for our board in that our March Employee of the Month is unfortunately for us no longer a school system employee. Friday was the last day on the job for Phoenix Academy Chief Custodian Larry Mooney, who moved to Florida to take another job there. It just so happened, however, that Ms. Pickard, Dr. Lotto, and I had planned to visit Phoenix last Thursday, so we just took the surprise celebration to Phoenix. Larry is someone who is continually on the move at Phoenix, keeping the school running like a well-oiled machine. He was far more than a custodian, however, and that was very evident during our visit. Larry always answered any request cheerfully and willingly, always with patience and humor. He was the first to volunteer when anyone, staff or student, needed help. He came in early and stayed late whenever there was a special event going on, and he was always the first to ask, anything I can do to help. Larry even voluntarily attended a staff-wide training on crisis de-escalation techniques because he said, you never know when you'll need to help out. Phoenix is a unique school with a unique student population, with many students being sometimes challenging to reach. But Larry was just the man for the job thanks to his calm, approachable demeanor. He worked with students who were assigned campus cleanup and also volunteered to help lead a boys' mentorship group with one of the crisis interventionists. And he joined the group on a field trip to Arlington Echo to attend the Initiative and Confidence course. Larry was unfailingly courteous, positive, friendly, respectful, and professional to everyone with whom he interacted. He strived for excellence in all tasks, big and small, and kept working until things were completed to perfection. He exemplified the high standard of customer service that AACPS asks of its employees and always set a positive, professional tone in his interactions with others. One of the teachers even had a T-shirt made for Larry that said, "Keep calm and let Larry handle it." The perfect motto for someone so hardworking and all-around competent. As the pictures on the screen show clearly, Larry was a perfect example of the whatever-it-takes approach that always makes Phoenix a safe, supportive, positive environment for students, staff, and family. I know I speak for Phoenix Academy students and staff when I say thank you to Larry for the enduring impact he had on children and the entire school. And on a personal note, to be there to present it and to see the children, the students rally around Larry was very special. The kids, you could tell how much they love and respect him and how much he meant to them. And to see this tough-looking custodian with tears in his eyes as those kids hugged him was a really special event last week. Thank you, Larry Mooney.
Item 2.08 is the Volunteer of the Month. Mrs. Nally.
How many times has each of us said, you know what we need is, or wouldn't it be wonderful if someone developed a, it's easy to air great ideas, but sometimes they are easier to fulfill than anticipated, especially when an entire community enthusiastically pitches in. Today, the Board of Education is proud to honor one such community, the Southern Alumni Scholarship Foundation, with the Volunteer of the Month Award for March.
The Southern Alumni Scholarship Foundation, SASF, is a nonprofit corporation dedicated to recognizing interscholastic and academic achievements by high school students at Southern High School. Its mission is to help deserving young men and women from Southern High School achieve a post-secondary school education. The foundation believes that education is the great equalizer, and that given fair opportunity and access to post-secondary education, the future will be brighter for the young people of the Southern Anne Arundel County. As the story goes, it all started with a conversation between Southern High School athletic director and Mr. David Hyson about getting a scholarship or two together for student athletes. Mr. Hyson then took his idea to fellow SHA alums, Mr. David Kolb and Mr. Joseph Tucker. As this small group made a few phone calls around the community, they were surprised that everyone they called offered donations for this fund. Pretty soon, Mr. Steve Massarelli and Ms. Anna Cheney joined the team, and the Southern Alumni Scholarship Foundation was formed. In less than 2 months, this group went from fundraising for 2 small scholarships to raising $35,000. The group awarded 21 scholarships to the Southern High School class of 2015, including student athletes, artists, aspiring entrepreneurs, and those seeking a career in the trades. This year, the foundation has already started fundraising toward its goal of $80,000. Mr. Kolb and Mr. Hyson have continued to meet with students, business groups, and the staff of Southern High School to promote this initiative. Mr. Kolb was able to secure an autographed guitar from Grammy Award nominees and Southern High School alums, the Brothers Osborne, that will be raffled off with proceeds benefiting the foundation. Additionally, the SASF is planning another casino night fundraiser, which has turned into the event in Southern Anne Arundel County. Principal Kevin Hamlin wrote, "I cannot adequately express my gratitude for the efforts of the SASF. They are truly making a difference in the lives of Southern High students for years to come." Thank you to the entire Southern Alumni Scholarship Foundation. Would you please come forward? With great appreciation, I present this Volunteer of the Month certificate and bell to you.
Angela's the glue that keeps us all together.
She's
the brains of the operation.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll wait for her to take her picture for a minute. On behalf of the board, I'd like to present you this certificate and this bell. And did you know you were coming for this, or did they make a story up?
They had a story.
They just said show up. Oh. They said show up. What was that story?
Be there, because Dr. Hamlin says to be there.
So we listened to him for what?
Who else is here to support you from Southern High
Yeah,
School?
where is Kevin, get up here.
Oh, come on up here.
Yeah, we'll give you the bell. Get up here.
You can come up here, Kevin. Thank you so much for everything. This is just wonderful. What a wonderful thing for the students of Southern High
And
School.
we just had our fundraiser last week.
You did?
So we have about
The event.
the event last weekend, and we have about 50,000, I think, additional put in there, so for scholarships this year.
Oh, that is impressive.
Probably close to 80,000.
Yeah, we hit our
We hit our
$80,000.
$80,000 mark
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
for 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty amazing. Thank you.
For a small community. Very good.
Thank you so much.
Item 2.09, school and community highlights. Mrs. Hummer.
Week before last, I attended one of the evenings of the dance festival at Annapolis High School, and I happened to be fortunate enough to be there on the night where they did a surprise tribute to Judy Fay, who, from what I understand, is the driving force behind the dance program of Anne Arundel County. And I learned, I didn't realize that we're the only county in the country that has a system-wide dance program, and I think in large part because of Judy Fay. So it was very nice to see the tribute that the dancers have. There's a classic dance that the can that they've done for years, and so they surprised her. A group came out and did the can dance, and the dancers were all wonderful, so it was a great evening. I also last week attended International Night at Monarch Global Academy, and they had about 30 different countries, families from about 30 different countries, and food and performers, and that was a great event to see all the different cultures that are represented in all of our schools, and even just in that one school. And then, as I said before, we got to visit Phoenix Academy and Mary Moss at J. Albert Adams last week, and those are just incredible programs that we offer, and it was so great to go into the schools and see these innovative, loving, supportive environments that are out there for the schools. So I want to thank both of those principals for allowing us to come in and take a look at their programs.
Mrs. Pickard.
Last week, I had the opportunity to attend the state Board of Education meeting. That was an education. With the changes being made at the state level and the new federal law, Every Student Succeed Act, that will be beginning to get implemented, the state board is a board we're going to want to watch and get involved with to make sure that our goals are met at the state level as we implement that new law. I also had a chance to attend, go to Mary Moss and Phoenix Academy, and I just ditto what my colleagues said, and thank Principal Slaughter and Principal Clark for taking time out of their day to educate us on what's happening in those schools. And then yesterday, I had a very unique experience to attend a field trip with 15 young women from MacArthur Middle School as they toured the State House and learned about the legislative process. We were welcomed from the Senate floor by Senator DeGrange, and the young ladies had a chance to discuss and get to know Delegate Mark Chang, and they asked some fantastic questions. It was a really eye-opening experience for them, and I hope to see some of them in those big chairs eventually.
Mrs. Birch.
I also got to attend one of the dance festival evenings, and I wanted to agree that our dance program is wonderful, and I wanted to also mention how inclusive it is, because the night that I was there, I believe it was Central Special that had their dance program was there as well, and I think it's wonderful that all of our schools are participating in dance programs, that we are so open, and it was beautiful. It was a wonderful dance, and I enjoyed it very much.
Mrs. Nally.
On Wednesday, February 24th, I attended the first A Night of Inspiration Anne Arundel County Public Schools Speaks. Building Hope and Compassion in Public Spaces was the theme, and I will tell you, it was just the most wonderful evening. Number one, we had tornado warnings and all kinds of things going on, but the show must go on. I called, and Dr. Arlotto said, oh, yes, we're going to do this. And the auditorium at Maryland Hall was filled. It was filled with teachers, community members, and our staff. It was remarkable, and it's the first, and I've been assured there are going to be more, and I encourage our community and everyone to turn out. I want to thank some people on that committee. Jamie Miller, who's a resource teacher and committee chair for advanced learner programs, Lauren Gray Hawkins, Kathleen Soares, and Todd Stanzioni, all who did a fantastic job. There were many wonderful speakers. That the Master of Ceremonies, Ken Srezik, was the moderator. He is the coordinator of fine arts at the Maryland State Department of Education. I think it was a night where we all learned about what we could do with public spaces and the impact art in public spaces can have. Rob Levitt spoke, and our own Pat Kloss, Lori Snyder, Chuck Walsh, and I want to give a special shout out to Anthony Austin. As Anthony was speaking, and they were on a panel and folks were asking questions, he talked about, and I'd never heard this before, school having a room 203, and he said this is a place where students are loved, feel safe, secured, challenged, valued, wanted, and it's adults looking for greatness in every student. And when Anthony spoke, I just thought that's almost the theme of what our school board talks about all the time. And it was just very impressive. And Anthony does such a good job at creating those kind of places. So this was, I think, just an absolute wonderful. I want to thank Maureen McMahon and all the staff that were there. And it was so impressive, and I am excited about the next one. You know, I'm just thinking, because I learned so much, and I think the community did. So thank you, staff. Thank you, all the teachers and community members that attended. And I think we ought to make sure that Maryland Hall is big enough for the next one.
Mr. Horskamp.
So this past Thursday, I had the opportunity to attend Lobbying Day hosted by the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils. This was a great event, especially since we were snowed out for the past 2 years. And so students from the middle and high schools of the county had a chance to speak to their delegates about the bills that CRASC supported. We had guest speakers such as Wes Adams, our state attorney, Steve Hsu, our county executive, with Miss Amelie Brandenburg. It was a great conversation. And a few speakers from Change Maryland, a few political lobbyists. And it was just great to, after all these years of not having it, to get these students out there to talk to the delegates. There was a little bit of a discrepancy because those delegates were still in session, so we had to let them wait in the hallway for a bit, but it worked out perfectly. And we had a special guest appearance from the owner of Chicken Roost, where I had the honor to have a sandwich named after me. So this is the first. I was supposed to know a month in advance, and I walk into the auditorium, and they're like, "Are you going to get the Jacob?" I was like, "I am now." It's grilled cheese with crab soup on the side, so if you're ever down there. Thank you.
Is it called the Horskamp? No, it's called the Jacob. Dr. Frank.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to let the community know that our comptroller, Francho, decided to visit one of the schools in Crofton, literally within walking distance of me, and it was nice to be able to go to the school. And I just want the community to know that our state government is paying attention to our schools and what they can do to help us improve them.
I just have a couple of things to add. First, I'd like to congratulate Richard Benford and Pam Bukowski for being reelected to TAC leadership. I think that was our Super Tuesday locally, right? And I also got to go to the dance festival. It was a wonderful experience. I had a special dancer in there myself to watch, so I'm always proud of her. And on tornado night or day, while Patty was at the Anne Arundel Speaks, I was advocating for our pre-K bill at the State House. So we were there to promote that bill that's going through the Senate right now. And then the last thing I really wanted to mention was Ed Camp. I don't know if anybody's heard of Ed Camp or been to one, but I had the opportunity to go to Anne Arundel's or AACPS Ed Camp on Saturday at the Carver Center. And it was put on by our professional development team, Andrea Zamora and her group. And what it is an opportunity for educators to come together, gather in the morning, and sit around and say, what is it that I would like to talk about or explore today? And you put it on a sticky and you hang it on the wall, and they organize sessions. And then within the group of people who've decided they want to talk about something, somebody volunteers to actually lead the session. So it's professional development by educators for educators, completely free. And it was just a wonderful experience. I had intended to stay for one session. I ended up staying the whole day. It was an amazing opportunity. And I think the next one is April 16th. Is that right? April 23rd. So on the website, if you're interested, you can sign up to attend the next Ed Camp. Item 2.10 is the CAC report.
Good morning, President Korbalak, Dr. Arlotto, members of the board. My name is Karma O'Neill, and I'm the chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. Welcome to our new board members. I'm sure by now you've memorized all of the policies of the Board of Ed, but just in case you have not, I brought you the CAC policy at 5.01, 501.01. Our role is to advise the board on specific issues and to facilitate board activities and programs. We meet 6 times per year and work within our clusters to reach out to schools, parents, and students for input. At our last meeting, we had a presentation on the budget and a first look at possible revisions to the current retake policy. Our committee has created a survey. We're in the process of gathering public feedback about possible changes, which I'm really excited about personally. Our members have also been tasked with encouraging their clusters to advocate for issues important to our schools and our communities. For example, we are closely following the nominating committee appointment process and standardized testing. We will be testifying at upcoming county council meetings in support of the school budget being fully funded. Our next meeting is on Monday, March 14th at 7 p.m. We have a committee workshop planned and we welcome your attendance. Our committees are preparing to send final committee reports to you at the June meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break to do pictures, and we'll be back for public comment. All right, we're now going to have the public comment portion of the meeting. Okay. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on today's agenda may offer testimony during this public comment portion of the meeting. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes each, and the board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences that may be watching or viewing the meeting. Student-specific and personnel matters are confidential and cannot be discussed in this forum. This time is intended for speakers to voice their opinion and not necessarily as a question and answer period. Speakers may pose questions, but answers will be counted toward the 3-minute allotment. For the record, please give your name before speaking, and handouts should be given to the board assistant. I don't have any completed cards today. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the board at this time? Okay. We'll move on to action items. Item 4.01, administrative personnel appointments. We do not have any today. Item 4.02 is personnel. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the board approve the actions as stipulated on the attached sheets.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Then we have 3 third readings of our policies. Item 4.03 is the general responsibilities for students with disabilities, code IL. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend approval of policy IL, subject to final correction for style and format.
So moved.
Is there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 4.04 is also a third reading, independent study, policy IGB. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend approval of policy IGB, subject to final correction for style and format.
So moved.
Are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 4.05, redistricting in attendance areas JAA. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend approval of policy JAA, subject to final correction for style and format.
So moved.
Are there any board questions or comments?
Just in definitions, where it starts the second one. The committee starts with making redistricting recommendations. I would state presenting redistricting options.
On which, is this the regulation?
C. Page. Yeah, these are the recommendations.
Redistricting advisory committee.
C definition. C definition where it says redistricting advisory committee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we see that. So what did
Yeah, where it says the advisory committee is charged with making redistricting recommendations.
And you wanted to,
You can't make redistricting. My recommendation is, instead of those 3 words, to presenting redistricting options.
this is legally what it has to be. They have to make recommendations. Well, if she's making a motion. If she's making a motion, then we have discussion. Except it's a regulation, so so he can take it under advisement.
okay,
We're fine with taking a look at that.
for under definitions.
The recommendation options probably would not work, but making or presenting either way would be workable within the regulation, so we'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment? All those in favor of approving policy JAA, redistricting in attendance areas? Motion passes 900. Then we have 2 first readings. The first is item 4.06, Human Relations and School Culture, KBC.
The Office of School Performance and the Department of Equity and Accelerated Student Achievement bring policy KBC to you for first reading. This policy was last updated December 6, 1989. This updated policy and regulation recognized the need for every school to have a school culture that is inclusive and conducive to learning for all students and staff. The policy requires school culture and human relations to be addressed in every school improvement plan and requires every school to have an equity liaison who is supportive of the school improvement process. This policy will be posted on our website for 30 days for public comment, and we will answer any questions you have related to it.
I don't have any board questions. Do we have any public comment? Okay, so this will now go on the web for 30 days?
Yes.
Item 4.07 is a first reading, Professional Support Staff and Executive Staff Benefits, GBB.
The Division of Human Resources brings policy GBB, Professional Support Staff and Executive Staff Benefits, to you for first reading. This policy was last updated November 20th, 1989. The updated policy combines current policy 80102 and 80101. This policy establishes the allowance of benefits for professional support staff and executive staff units 5 and 6. This policy will be posted on our website for 30 days for public comment, and we will answer any questions you have related to it.
I don't have any board questions. Do we have any public comment? Okay, so this will be up on the web for 30 days now. Thank you. So next we'll move on to item 4.08, update on legislation. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move it from information to action? All those in favor? We now have an action item. Ms. Kutchis.
Thank you. As you remember, for Section 1, we will be asking for you to take positions. So I'm going to start with the first bill in Section 1. That's House Bill 492, Senate Bill 155, Public Bodies' Use and Retention of Email Requirements. Essentially, this bill requires the school system, as an employee of the public body, to create and to disallow any employee from creating or maintaining a personal email account. And if a personal email account is created by an employee of the school system or any other public body, then the school system would be responsible for making sure that that person then sent that email to their public school system or their public email account. Each public body also will be required to retain government email for 7 years, or if it was sent or received by a senior employee of the public body, it would have to be kept permanently. We recommend that you oppose this bill. It would be impossible for us to monitor employees' private email accounts or enforce this requirement. Additionally, keeping emails that could have viruses or other issues with them could potentially compromise our technology system, and for that reason we ask that you oppose this bill.
Second.
Any board questions or comments? Any public comment? All those in favor of opposing this bill? Motion passes 900.
The next bill is House Bill 579 and Senate Bill 858, Mental Health Wraparound Services for Children and Youth. Essentially, this bill provides that the governor has to include in his budget bill an appropriation to provide wraparound services for an additional 300 children or youth with intensive mental health needs. We find that wraparound services for children and youth has resulted in a reduction in students requiring out-of-home residential treatments, and this decrease has been coupled with improved student outcomes and decreasing costs to local school systems. For those reasons, we request that you support this bill.
Any board questions or comments? Dr. Frank.
Could you explain the term wraparound?
Sure. I'm going to do my best, and then I know we have an expert over there if I falter. And essentially what's important is the way that wraparound services are defined in this bill and how they would apply. And so they're defined as including intensive care coordination, child and family team meetings, and plans of care that are individualized to each family and include formal supports, including individual and family therapy.
My understanding of the term is that it has to do with a certain time period, so I'm still unclear about what the term means.
I'm not aware of any time period that is connected to, but
So if you think about wraparound services, if we divide out some of the things that we do in the school system, Dr. Frank, I think it's an excellent question, and it's a term that we in education use, and I think the greater public needs to know and understand it. There's the academic part of what we do in our day, and then there's the social emotional part. And I think Ms. Lane can certainly speak better than I, but providing services in counseling, with our school psychologists and other wraparound services. Sometimes it could be counseling, sometimes it could be out getting students and families aid in other ways, in medical services, dental services, vision services. Those are services where we talk about wrapping around the student, things that are outside of that academic program. And anything, Kathy, you'd like to offer?
Yes, in addition to what Dr. Arlotto and Jessica have already shared, a lot of the services also are provided to the children and family after the school hours, because the children who exhibit serious mental health needs also are very challenging in the home environment, and their families often need things like such as respite care, just a break from the intensive level of care that those children may demand from them. After school activities that are more therapeutic in nature than your typical parks and recreation, and to access those services sometimes takes a high degree of skill and navigation to find out where they may be located. And so the service providers associated with the provision of wraparound services have skill and expertise in helping families link up with those services for after school hours, as well as the supports we provide in school.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment? All those in favor of supporting this bill? Motion passes 900.
the next bill is House Bill 681, Vehicle Law, School Vehicle Definition. Essentially, this bill would expand the definition of school vehicle to include a vehicle that was originally titled in another state and used to transport children, students, or teachers. Buses built in Maryland follow Maryland specifications, and to open up the marketplace to buses that were made out of state, which would have to be retrofitted to meet Maryland specifications, could create safety risk and could be costly. For those reasons, we request that you oppose this bill.
Any board questions? Mrs. Birch?
Can I assume that the reason that this bill was introduced is because, especially in parts of the state that are close to a lot of other states, they want to be able to, like, say, Garrett County, they want to be able to buy buses from Pennsylvania and West Virginia?
That's absolutely correct. The counties that sort of are looking towards this bill are the ones that border West Virginia and Delaware, and they want to be able to purchase buses that were made in those states and use them in our state. However, that would not be beneficial to us, and we do have safety concerns related to that.
I guess I'm a little confused as to why so many of our own delegates co-sponsored the bill. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Is there any public comment? All those in favor of opposing this bill? Are you opposing it? Motion passes 900.
Okay, House Bill 713, Senate Bill 494, State Department of Education Community Partners School Behavioral Health Services Programs Reporting System and Report, School Behavioral Health and Accountability Act. This bill requires MSDE, in consultation with DHMH and county boards and other interested stakeholders, to develop and implement a standardized reporting system to determine the effectiveness of community-partnered school behavioral health services programs. I think this bill was well-intentioned, but it does raise concerns with unintended consequences regarding privacy rights of students. In many instances, the raw numbers of students that are using these services are very low, and so it would put parents in a position of having to consent to release of mental health treatment outcomes by the school system, and by asking parents to do that, so it may dissuade parents from getting the services they need from their students. And for those reasons, we recommend in opposition to this bill.
Are there any board questions? Are there any public comment? All those in favor of opposing this bill? Motion passes 900.
House Bill 996, Education Public School Holidays Easter Monday. This bill repeals the requirement that schools close on the Monday after Easter. The bill provides that a county may designate the Monday after Easter as a public school holiday, but under this bill, it would no longer be required by the state. We recommend you support this bill. It gives local school systems discretion and increased control over their school calendars.
Mrs. Burge.
And this bill was introduced at our request, is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks to our legislative breakfast. It also helps provide some flexibility to the calendar. If the other bill that's going through about starting after Labor Day and we still have to have all these requirements, it gives us another flexible day to work with if we need it. Is there any public comment on this bill? All those in favor of supporting this bill? Motion passes 900.
House Bill 1191, Task Force to Study an Online Program for Paraprofessionals Assisting Students with Autism. This bill establishes a task force to study an online program for paraprofessionals assisting students with autism. We are supportive of this bill, or we're requesting your support of this bill, as we currently do embed training with our paraprofessionals. However, this would provide an additional resource if they were able to find an online training that was workable and provide continued learning for our paraprofessionals that work with autistic students. We recommend you support this bill.
Do I have a motion to support? Any board questions or comments? Any public comment? Or Dr. Frank?
You talked about days that students do not go to school. What is the flexibility that we presently have, the number of days that we could put students off because of snow or other reasons, and how many have we consumed so far?
I'm actually not prepared to answer that question.
I understand. I understand.
To answer your question, Dr. Frank, we have required by state law to have 180 days of instruction. This board builds in 5 additional days each year into the calendar. We have for the past 2 years for use in inclement weather. We've used 4 of those 5 days thus far. Right? Yes, 4. I got to check with Seth. Yes, we've used 4 of the 5 days. It's all a blur to me. But we've used 4 of those 5 days.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so back to the bill about the paraprofessionals. Any other board questions or comments? Any public comment? All those in favor of supporting this bill? Motion passes 900.
The next bill is House Bill 1325, Senate Bill 755, State Department of Education, Breakfast and Lunch Programs Funding Free School Meals for Students from Low and Middle Income Families Act. Essentially, this bill eliminates the reduced price meals for students, so the state would pick up the cost, and all students that currently receive reduced price meals would then be free meals for them. We recommend that you support this bill. The bill ensures that students living in poverty have access to and can consume nutritious and appetizing meals.
Any board questions or comments? Any public comment? All those in favor of supporting this bill? Motion passes 900.
The next bill is Senate Bill 493, House Bill 1410. This bill is packed with a lot of information, so I'm going to highlight some of the most objectionable parts of it, why we are recommending an opposition. Essentially, it establishes a teacher induction, retention, and advancement program in the state that some first-year teachers can participate in. The teachers that are participating would be afforded at least 20% more time than teachers who are not first-year teachers during the academic week to be spent on mentoring, peer observation, assistance with planning, or other preparation activities. During that time, they cannot be responsible for student supervision or any administrative responsibilities or duties. While that sounds very well-meaning, unfortunately, it doesn't cover all first-year teachers, and we already have a comprehensive teacher induction program known as the Right Start New Teacher Support Program for all teachers. In order to afford the teachers, the first-year teachers that participate in this program the time to do what is required in this bill, we would have to hire more staff, and it would have a fiscal impact, and we are recommending you oppose this bill.
Any board questions or comments? Any public comment? All those in favor of opposing this bill? Motion passes 900.
The next bill is House Bill 1437, Education Individualized Counseling Services requirement. This requires a school counselor or counseling school program to assist students in obtaining professional, individually counseling services. It requires that the school counselor or the school counseling program obtain permission of the parent or guardian of the student to allow school-based personnel to speak with outside healthcare providers on behalf of the student and arrange individually counseling services with a licensed clinical professional counselor through a school-based health center. And then it requires the counselor to find space within the school building for those meetings to take place. We're recommending you oppose this bill. It is not the role of school counselors to serve as a referral or booking agent for outside services. Additionally, the ethical standards that are adhered to by student support services staff dictate that they would not be recommending a specific provider, but rather would be providing options to parents or guardians when additional support is needed. And then finally, mental health appointments during the school day would not only be disruptive, but it would take the student out of their learning environment, which is essentially where they are, why they're there. We're recommending that you oppose this bill.
Second.
Any board questions or comments? Any public comment? All those in favor of opposing this bill? Motion passes 9-0-0. And that is all the legislation we need to take a vote on, correct?
That's correct.
Does anybody have any questions about anything else? Mr. Gilliland.
Thank you. Just one clarification question for me. Do you submit written testimony on each of these bills based on what the board decides here, or do you submit it directly to the committee, or do you submit it through MABE and they do this on our behalf?
No, I'm glad that you asked that. That's a great question. Essentially, every bill that the board takes a position on, we submit written testimony to the committee on behalf of Anne Arundel County Board of Education. However, there are times when, given the date of the hearing and the date of the board meeting, we haven't taken a position in time for the first committee to hear it. So there may be some bills that we've taken a position on. The hearing in the assigned committee has already occurred, and we miss the opportunity at that point to submit testimony. Additionally, we work with MABE and PZAM to support the testimonies that they're providing as well. So if there's a bill that we can't meet for one reason or another, we provide information to them. Finally, sorry for the long answer, any bill that the board has already established our position on through the legislative program, we would go ahead and take positions on that prior to the board seeing that in their exhibit, because they've already taken a position on a particular bill.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I just had one question on the bill that we took no position. I can find it on Senate Bill 595. Dual enrollment middle school students. I was just curious. We chose to take no position. I know MABE voted to oppose it.
Yes.
Page 13.
Certainly, I think we would be just as comfortable doing an opposition as a no position. Oftentimes, when there's this volume of bills, we try to determine which ones are going quicker than others, or which ones are sort of priority, and at this point that had not been. We also felt no position was appropriate because we as a local school system could still have certain qualifications and agreements with our community college that would restrict it. But I do think there are some definite issues with that bill, specifically being the age appropriateness of a middle schooler attending community college or college. So if the board so desires, we can always move that from no position to whatever position you feel comfortable with.
It's okay. It doesn't matter to me. I just was curious.
Yeah.
What our reasoning was. Mr. Gilliland?
I'm sorry. This is helpful to hear that. Do you know, was MABE's concern, and I guess it's a question for us to know, if one of our students is attending Anne Arundel Community College and, God forbid, an incident happens, imagine anything, who's on the hook for that?
I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to get back to you on that answer. Okay. I think there's a lot of different, that's pretty broad, right? Like if there was a criminal activity, if that's sort of what you're going, yeah, I'm not quite sure.
You know, because I think part of the, just a side chatter, I don't think this bill is going to go anywhere, but one of the concerns that I have, though, is sometimes these bills resurface a year later or 2 years later, and they pass after they get some, Christmas tree ornament amendments on them. But one of the concerns I think we ought to at least get ahead of the ball on this is, if there's, some sort of sexual misconduct issue that happens at a higher education institution, and one of our students is involved, that certainly opens the door, I think, to a lot of risk for AACPS in addition to the higher ed institution. And, certainly we don't want anything to happen to our students, but I think the legal world being what it is, that can really create a lot of mess for this system.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, interestingly, the Maryland Association of Community Colleges opposed this bill as well. So most of the, PZAM, MABE, MAC, they're all opposed to that bill.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is 4.09 Broadneck High School third-party project landscape improvements. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action? All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend approval of the Broadneck High School third-party project landscape improvements.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Any questions or comments from the board? Any public comment? Yes, the sketches look great. All those in favor? Right. Motion passes 900. Item 4.10 is an information to action item, the Odenton Elementary School Stormwater Management Inspection and Maintenance Agreement. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action? All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend approval of the Odenton Elementary School Stormwater Management Inspection and Maintenance Agreement.
Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second? Second. Are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 5.01 is award of contracts. This is a review item. Are there any board questions or comments? Are there any public comment? Okay. And then our last items are consent items, 6.01 to 6.02. Do I have a motion to bundle these and move them from information to action? All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend approval of the contracts as listed on today's agenda as 6.01 and 6.02.
Any board questions or comments? Any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. That concludes the public portion of our meeting. I just have a couple of announcements. The next Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, March 16th at 7 p.m. The next Board Policy Committee meeting is Wednesday, March 9th at 1 p.m. And the next Board Budget Committee meeting is Wednesday, March 16th at 4:30 p.m. Mrs. Nally.
I'd like to move that we go into closed session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter and to conduct collective bargaining negotiations or consider matters that relate to the negotiations.
All those in favor? We're now in closed session. Thank you.